Welcome back. All right, today we're going to talk about microaggressions in the classroom. This is not in your textbook, but I feel like it's something important that we should discuss. And it's something that every single one of us has experienced and done. Ain't no one here perfect. We have all said really stupid things, and people have said or done really stupid things around us and didn't realize that they may have been insulting who we are or invalidated us. So, we need to talk about the terminology first. So what exactly is a microaggression? This is a very brief and commonplace daily verbal, behavioral, or environmental indignity, whether intentional or unintentional, that can communicate hostile, derogatory, or negative racial slights and insults towards people of color. But I would also include religion and ethnicity as well as your sexual orientation in this, because we have all said really stupid things. Something I find really interesting, and this is when I bring up the PC principle in a minute, is we have gotten to the point now in our society, good or bad, depending on how you feel about this, that even the names of our buildings can create an environment. So I had mentioned last time all the streets on our campus, do you know what they're named after?
Civil War.
Plantations. And
Oh.
then all of our buildings are named after like old white guys and a lot of people who are very prominent in the Civil War, or like big donors who own plantations. Now, is that part of our history? Yes. Would that make some people feel slighted? Yes. So I think then your discussion board for this due tomorrow at midnight, one of the things was discussing like a classroom exercise is for you to like name your classroom or your halls in your classrooms, and like what you would name them if you had that opportunity. But also consider that that is considered a microaggression. So here, this wonderful woman wearing a hijab gets things like, oh, you were born in Canada? Like if she's Canadian? Because they would just assume that she was born somewhere else based on the way she looks. Or here, you have a mental disability? You seem perfectly normal to me. My favorite one, because I used to teach healthcare providers, my favorite one is when practitioners, so healthcare providers, are surprised that their patients went to college, particularly their patients of color. Oh, you went to college? Oh, you went there? Oh, like, oh, I would never expect that. Or, wow, you speak really well. Yeah, don't say that ever. They're like, no. So those are things that you could consider that. Other things that you may not be aware of are micro assaults, micro insults, and micro invalidations. So what are the differences between them? A micro assault is a conscious and intentional action or slur, such as using a racial epithet or deliberately serving a white person before a person of color in a restaurant. I have a video that's going to discuss a little bit more about this. My favorite micro assault that I get is, oh, you guys killed Jesus. You killed Jesus. I did not kill Jesus. Like, I'm pretty sure we would have been kicking it back in the day, right? So, no, that's not the case. A micro insult would be a verbal or non-verbal communication that subtly conveys rudeness or insensitivity. It could demean a person's racial heritage or identity. That could be anything from you locking the doors when someone's walking by your car to, there's just like a lot of subtle things that could be happening there. And then a micro invalidation is a communication that subtly excludes, negates, or nullifies the thoughts, feelings, or experiential reality of a person of color. But again, I would say that could go with sexuality and ethnicity as well. My favorite is, I have a lot of friends, especially when I was living in San Francisco, I had a lot of friends of various sexualities because that's just a great place to live. If you're part of the LGBT community, so it's just a very inviting environment, and historically it always has been. And I basically, by the time I left San Francisco, never assumed anything about anyone's sexuality. Like I had no idea if you like boys, girls, both, whatever you want to do, that's you, good for you. Because I would hear so many times, like, you won't believe this guy said you're the most masculine gay man I've ever met, or I had no idea you were a lesbian. Like, That's like someone coming up to you and being like, I had no idea you were a heterosexual. Thank you. Like, what? Why do we say these things to each other? So that would be the type of, that would be an example of micro invalidation. So I mean, like in this case, if this person dressed in a certain way that you couldn't tell if they were masculine or feminine, they could be like, I had no idea you were a whichever sex. Like, who cares? Or, this is great. You natives don't have to work. Doesn't the government give you everything for free? Right? I'm sure my Native American students are like, what? Right? Or have you made any other assumption about someone who is Native? So, what are these like comments about? This could be anything from your socioeconomic status. Like, wow, you come from blah 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 and you're wearing those shoes? Right? Like that's pretty slight. A disability, your gender expression or identity. So even though you are born one way, if you express a different way, your sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, nationality, or religion. And these insults or insensitivities, they may be exhibited by your students or the teacher might. And I got stories about teachers here that do it, and it makes my skin crawl. But here's the thing. Are we perfect? No. If you ever have an opportunity to sit around and watch Netflix for like a minute, yeah, right. But if you do, I highly recommend that you watch the PC Principal episodes of South Park. Because this guy is like so PC, he ends up driving himself crazy because you can only be so PC. Politically correct, by the way, if you're wondering what PC is. Did you see that episode where like he had babies with the school counselor and they had to keep it a secret because it wasn't PC? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm ruining things for you.
The last one I watched is when South Park got a Whole Foods.
Oh, that was a great one, and Kenny lost his home.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
of gentrification.
Yeah. Anyway, South Park's great because they just do parodies on this. Anyways, you can only be so PC,
PC.
right? Like everyone could find something that happened. You could find a lot of things that we say or do with each other as micro insults or aggressions that person doesn't really mean to say or do. Yes ma'am.
Okay, this is an incident that really happened. There was a lady.
Do you want to hold on to that because we're going to do an activity where we share incidences later?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about
Okay,
It's
because we're
about
going to actually,
political
I'm not going to
correctness.
talk with you the whole time. I'm making y'all do some stuff with what your experience is. I will say, a lot of times when we do accidentally, like we're not actually assaulting each other if you accidentally throw out a micro insult. Most of the time, it's because you don't know how to ask something of someone's culture or identity. I was lucky enough to work in a laboratory setting with a Nigerian Muslim, Puerto Rican Catholic, a Boston Irish Catholic, and an Indian from India who was Hindu. So there were a lot of questions, like how do you celebrate your holidays? Why are you eating this? And of course, it's all about like the environment you're in, the tone you use, and how you approach things. Because I'm pretty sure I micro-insulted every single person in that lab just out of pure curiosity of trying to understand their culture. And luckily we were in an environment where we had to put all that aside because we were working as a team towards the scientific discovery. But as a teacher, you need to watch yourself and that you're not making anything blatantly occur. And then as a teacher as well, you need to diffuse situations that may occur within your students or between students and other teachers as well. So I'm going to teach you those tools today, and it's kind of a life tool. Like I was like, oh, these are really great tips I wish someone taught me when I was, 6, but they didn't. Okay, so this is a beautiful video. We're only going to watch half of it, but these just show you some of the experiences. These are college students, and they're going to talk about the various micro insults and assaults that they have experienced, and I'm sure you all have your own stories, which we will be sharing in a little bit.
You watching PC Principal clips?
I mean, I might bring that up while you guys are talking, because I really feel like...
Hey guys, it's Scott McGilvery here, and if you're in Huma or the Huma area,
What's
and you're
Huma?
tired of
Oh, that's
something,
insane.
or
I
you're
hate
tired
that.
of
So
not
I
doing
called the
this
Chuck E.
school.
Cheese in Houma, and it was like, yeah, we're and I was like,
That's a.
Think about a time when someone said something about some aspect of your identity that made you feel insulted or slighted. Even if they didn't intend it, you probably experienced a microaggression.
A microaggression is something that someone says to someone else without knowing that it may be offensive, it hurts. So that's how I know it's a microaggression, because it feels disrespectful.
And it's not like outright racism, but it's something that is like almost unconscious in the way that you view people.
Most microaggressions are subtle and indirect, but they occur frequently in the daily interactions of members of historically underrepresented groups. And most often, people who commit microaggressions think of themselves as well-intentioned, non-racist, non-sexist people. They do not realize that the underlying messages communicated by their actions or comments are hurtful to other people.
One of my friends asked if my parents had their papers.
I had a science teacher, a physics teacher, and he told me that I was the smartest black girl in his class. I've been asked if I understood what they were talking about, or do you need translation and stuff just based on my name?
Like, I'm not the spokesperson for the whole black community, but that's a microaggression I do experience a lot. Like, they want the black perspective, and I'm usually the only black girl in the class, so it's like, okay, what's your take on this?
Right, because all black people, all white people, all Jewish people, all Christians, all Muslims think the same. And this is really like a big, what this woman just said is a really big deal right now in higher education. So I'm on this diversity and inclusion committee. And it's very taxing on our minority faculty to be like, what do you guys think? How can we make this place more inviting? Right, like, it's like, we got like 5 people on this campus and we can't literally brain drain them of all that. So please make sure you don't do that. It's a huge issue in higher education.
I get asked, do you know how to speak your native language? And when I answer I do, it's just like, they're like, okay, well, what does Ching-Chow mean?
There are 3 types of microaggressions: micro-assaults, micro-insults, and micro-invalidations. A micro-assault is similar to what we think of as overt discrimination. In the case of micro-assaults, those acts are intentional.
I was a server for a long time, and if anyone else knows, you know this. In the back of the kitchen, like when someone gets a table of, like say, Indian people, I hope this is PC, I don't know all the terms, but like Indian people or black people or anyone, they'd be like, who wants that table? I don't want it, they're not gonna tip. And my heart would break every time.
I used to be a server too, and I hated it because I was like the only person of like, any type of race other than white. I remember coming in and they'd be like, oh, Danielle, did you get that table of raccoons? And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah. And then I would go and I'm like, they're black people. And I was like, wait, is that what you call black people? You call them raccoons?
A micro-assault can be the deliberate posting of swastikas, Confederate flags, racial slurs or epithets that are left on a blackboard in a classroom.
I work as a research assistant, and so a while ago, one of the new RAs, when I was a few months into it, came up to me and just mentioned that even though we'd known each other for months at that point, you're the least scary black guy I've ever met. In the way that I dress, the way that I talk, the way that I speak, I've kind of tailored that over the course of my education to be non-threatening.
I'll literally have like my keys in my hand, like they're always with me, and I'll just like jingle them as I'm walking so that they know that I know that I'm there, so that we both know that I'm right here and I'm not gonna try and do anything. But on that note, there's also the stigma that like we're aggressive and intimidating.
It's sad you have to make sure you let people know you're not a threat. And that's jacked up.
One of my friends commented to me, he said, I don't really even think you're black, and I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you're smart, you do your work, yes, you're athletic, but you do your work, you're smart. So I don't really know if you're black. I was like, I didn't understand. It made me question who I was and if I was still a part of the culture.
And that's an example of micro-invalidation and a micro-insult. And I'm going to talk about those a little bit more. A micro-insult is a comment that communicates the demographic group is not respected, that person is a slight exception to the stereotype. It's an insult, even though the perpetrator thinks he has just rendered a compliment.
Well, here at UNC, I've heard
you're so pretty for a black girl, I feel like it discounts me as a person, and then I feel like it discounts my race. I feel like it can be pretty just because you're a woman, or, you know, or all black women are beautiful, all people of color are beautiful, just the same as people that are not people of color. So for them to make that specific statement, that's what I'm like, why, what in you made you say that to me? As if it were a compliment.
So another type of micro insult is when students in the classroom are dismissed or treated almost as if they're invisible. For instance, in some of our sciences or engineering classes, there are few women, and professors often don't call on those women.
I had one instance in a statistics-based class where we were discussing something bell curve related, and he presented a question, and I don't remember exactly what the answer was, but I answered it, and he kind of doubted me, and he very condescendingly was just like, oh, okay, well, I mean, like, this is the best answer, but I guess your answer could be right. You know what, we'll ask, it was a grad student, he was like, you know what, we'll ask Dr. So-and-so and see what he thinks the best answer is. And there was no apology or anything. He was just like, oh yeah, Dr. So-and-so said that, yeah, that was actually a really acceptable answer. And I was just like, okay, what else is he gonna doubt me on, and when else am I gonna be called out in front of 70 other people, you know, and have a weird exchange that makes the whole room quiet? Like,
one of my science classes, my teacher had asked what I wanted to do, and I told the teacher that I wanted to be a psychiatrist. And immediately they're like, that's too hard for you, maybe you should try a different field, or have you ever thought about being a nurse practitioner? Nurse practitioners in psychiatry make pretty well, they make a lot of money too. Have you thought about that? Like, why go to med school? Genuinely, sometimes somebody might feel like they can't make it, you know, and then when you continue to tell them that, it does hurt, you know?
I've had a lot of professors tell me in my face that they were surprised that I was as good as a student as I was, and that I paid attention in class and actually participated. And when I asked why, they said, well, you know, you just come off as a troublemaker. You have all these piercings and short hair as a girl and tattoos. And we just naturally assume that you weren't really going to be any good.
Okay, so now that we all feel really good right now and special, right? I hope some of that made you really angry. I'm sure some of you have experienced very similar experiences, and we will be doing some sharing and discussing on how to do this. More importantly, though, you have to understand that most of those experiences those students had, no one is trying to attack them. And we will all say really stupid things to our students and to each other. But I think what's more important is understanding not only the impact that these have on each other, but also how we can diffuse the situation. And I feel like especially in elementary, middle, and high school, once you're in college, you kind of have found yourself and you know what's acceptable. But like when you're an angsty kid, like what's the first thing you want to do if someone says some things to you? Like what do you want to do? Like for me, I'd like to pop them in the face. Is that socially acceptable? No, not at all. So we have to find ways to like decide how we want to respond to this. And this is where I wanted you guys to know this, because especially some of you guys are going to be teaching topics, like my history and English teachers, you're going to be teaching topics where you're going to hear blatant things said, and it's just a great learning opportunity to really have our students understand and be in each other's shoes. So, racial microaggressions, they create a hostile and invalidating climate for people of color. It saps their spiritual and psychic energies, and their cumulative nature can result in depression, frustration, anger, rage, loss of self-esteem, anxiety, etc. I mean, it really can wear on you. If you have a student who is like literally the only one of whatever it is they are, and they're constantly being singled out by their classmates, it is going to wear on them constantly. So, if you experience a microaggression, what should you do? Ready for life lessons. I think this is kind of common sense because you're all adults, but these are wonderful things that you can also teach your students at some point. So step one, assess the situation, right? The person who's doing the insult thinks they're complimenting you. They think they're saying something nice to you. And you don't want to make it to the point that that person gets defensive, but you need to like take his time out. And sometimes it throws you off so much that you just want to roll with it. For example, I had a faculty member who said the Aryan race in my office, and I wanted to like crawl up the walls and like escape immediately. So it's just like, oh, that's an interesting word that you would use, and like moved on instead of being like, one moment here. But I had to assess my situation. So you assess the situation. You find a way to pause from assuming or reacting right away. So you can't just be like, what'd you say to me? Like, let's go rumble in the jungle. Like, you can't do that. So if it's the first time and the incident is new, you could ask the person to repeat what she or he said. So maybe making them take a moment to think about what they just said to you. You're like me, you might have diarrhea of the mouth and not even realize the words are coming out of my mouth right now and I cannot control them, and then you can bring it back and be like, what I meant was. Like, let them have a minute to respond. And you need to look at yourself. Are you safe from physical, emotional harm? Are you going to be receiving extra abuse if you continue to interact with this individual? There are people that you're going to know that this is going to be worth a teaching moment, and there are going to be people that it's not worth. The person who said the Aryan race word to me was a very old white person who probably felt like that term has been appropriate since who knows when. Right? Is it worth my time to try to change his mind at this point? Probably not. And I unfortunately have to work with this individual for at least the next 4 years that I'm here. So again, is it worth me to interact with them or not? I'm not sure. So, and then you have to ask yourself the following. What kind of risk will I take if I do decide to discuss this with this person? So for me, in that case, I'm taking the risk of like, what type of decisions is this person on? Get on the tenure committee. Do I want to make that interaction happen or not? I think if it was a different situation with a different person, I would, but in that case, no. Is this particular action worth my time and effort? If you interact with this person, and then, is it better for you just to walk away, or is it better for you, knowing yourself, to interact with this individual? And then, do I know what I want to achieve? What is the point of you interacting with someone who has laid out this micro insult? And for students, and I think for the student-teacher experience, you want to achieve that they understand that what they said was insulting, but more importantly, how could you ask that question? Or how could you compliment someone differently than the way that they had? And so I think that's what you really need to think about. And then you need to model the behavior. So if you're the bigger person, you're gonna walk away, or you're gonna have a very calm discussion about this. Hey, you know what you said I found really insulting. I would prefer you say this or that, or that you don't mention my race, my sexuality, my piercings, the way I look, the way I dress, whatever it might be. It's always a good idea to stay away from sarcasm, snide, mocking, or arrogance, even though it would be really tempting. I joke with my husband, so my family is very like straight to the point. Like, we don't like something, we'll tell you immediately. My husband's family is so passive aggressive. I will get a whole boatload of sarcasm before we get to the point. And sometimes they'll throw that sarcasm at me, and I was like, oh no, we going right now. What is the problem? I'm not dealing with this BS. But some people, it's easier to deal with sarcasm. Do not deal with this over text message. Why? If this is a friend. Yeah, there's no way anything is going to get done, even though it'll be easier to do it over the screen, right? Please don't do that. And again, the goal here is education. It's not about winning a point or making someone feel bad or wrong. It's about helping them understand something from a different perspective. The whole point, if you were going to address a micro insult, is that you want them to understand how they made you feel. Do you guys remember those like, I feel when you, did you guys learn those? No? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. I feel, right?
I statements.
Yes, the I statements. Anyway, so any of that would be what you would want that person to understand. So that if they don't want to say it again, right? But again, you need to decide when it's worth you to do this and when it's not worth you to do this. Sometimes it's just easier to be like, you know what? You're not my friend, I don't really know you, F off, and you move on. But within your classes, with your students, do think that this is a tremendous lesson, to learn from each other. And I do think that what you don't want is to start bullying and fights in your classroom, but I do think some of this can be addressed. So how to respond, just to recap, if you do receive a micro insult, focus on the actual event and not on the person saying or doing the insult. Don't focus on them. Because then then you're coming back at them, and micro insults are from people who are not trying to insult you. They think they're complimenting you based on something that makes you different. Let's just try not to do that. Stay calm. Don't be getting all up in each other's faces. What'd you say to me? Like, don't do that. Discuss how you learn about various cultures and why or what that person said or did was insulting. So for some of us in culture, staring at someone is not insulting. That's part of our culture. In other cultures, that might be insulting. So things like that might need to be expressed. And then please put yourself in the other person's shoes. So if you accidentally micro insult someone and they address it, please put yourself in their shoes and understand what they're saying to you and not immediately get defensive, and vice versa, them in yours. So, here are just some examples of how teachers accidentally or purposefully micro insult, and then we will do some sharing is caring. So, failing to learn to pronounce or continue to mispronounce the names of students after they have corrected you. Dan and I told you the story already. There is a professor in biology. I had this phenomenal Hispanic woman who will become a doctor someday. I know it. She is so driven, and her name is Juan. So, I love her so much. I was like, I cannot wait to see. I want her to be my doctor someday. I'm so pumped for her. Okay, this professor kept calling her iguana.
Oh.
No. This is college. No. Step 1, no. Step 2, what the F? This isn't getting me in trouble if I put this business on YouTube. And Juana is now in a place where that teacher has power. This teacher is going to be writing her letters of recommendation, right? Like, how do you address that? Infuriating. You know what was wonderful? Other students came to our aid in that class. And we're like, why do you keep saying that? Her name's Juana. But that kills me. Scheduling tests and project due dates on religious and cultural holidays. Please don't do that. If you know Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are coming up and you have a Jew, or if you know that Eid is coming up in the Muslim holiday, which is the end of Ramadan, don't do that. Chinese New Year, Vietnamese or Korean New Year. These are really big holidays for these cultures. Just like I don't get to schedule tests around Christmas and Easter, I would really appreciate you not doing the same for other religions. Setting low expectations from students from a particular group, neighborhood, or feeder pattern. Oh, I love this. Oh, you graduated from Thibodeau High? I'm so impressed. Gross, right? Like, let's not do that ever. And my secondary education students, you guys are going to have kids from all sorts of elementary schools and middle schools feeding into your high school. So please don't make any assumptions about them. Calling on, engaging, and validating only one gender, class, or race of students while ignoring other students during class. I think we have all seen and experienced that at some point. Unfortunately, in the sciences, this is rampant. You're a white guy in science, you're going to do great. Assigning students tasks or roles that reinforce particular gender roles and don't allow all students flexibility across roles and responses. If you are going to be a facts teacher, agriculture, if you're an elementary school teacher, the girls don't all go play with the kitchen toys and the boys don't all go get to play with trucks. You ready for this? A very prominent private preschool in Houma. My girlfriend, I was looking for preschools for my kids and I'm asking all my friends. I really like them except that they have girl toys and boy toys. What is that? Can someone explain that to me? What a girl toy is and a boy toy? My daughter's daycare right now, for the kids' birthdays, they give them a gift. What was my daughter's gift? What do you think it was?
Baby doll Barbie.
It was a freaking baby doll. Because my kid can't be anything other than a mama. And no offense to my daycare, but if you actually watch what my kid does, she plays with the trucks. Like, that baby doll got thrown on the floor and she went for the trucks. So, I mean, please do not do that. All right, anticipating students' emotional responses based on gender, sexual orientation, race, or ethnicity. Of course, especially my history teachers, when you're talking about very specific things that are happening in history, You can make those assumptions, but you also have to understand that your students are bringing in their own knowledge and their own experiences into your classroom. Using inappropriate humor in class, oh, that's the best, right? Don't tell a joke if there is any wiggle room for inappropriateness. I'm bad at that. Like, I love PC Principal and other, like, and Family Guy, so I have to watch myself. Expressing racially charged political opinions in class, assuming that the targets of the opinions don't exist in the class. For example, we have a lot of things going on in immigration right now. You may assume just because your students don't look Hispanic or have Hispanic last names that they are not personally affected by what is happening in this country, right? But they could be. Using the terms illegals. I don't think any of you would do that. Hosting debates in class that place students from groups who may represent a minority opinion in the class in a difficult situation. Yeah, don't do that either. Debates are great. Maybe like do some cooperative learning before you start that debate, and singling students out in class because of their backgrounds. What is the Jewish perspective? What is the Muslim perspective? What is the LGBTQ perspective? You, the only one in the class, let's hear from you. It sounds nice, but it's not. I will tell you this though, I had a social studies teacher that I'm teaching in my master's program, and she had a student from China, and she did ask that student if they wanted to come in and talk about the Chinese New Year when it came around. And the student said, no, I'm not comfortable. And she said, okay. So you can make that an option, but don't make that student do that, because then it makes it feel worse. Okay, expecting students of a particular group to represent the perspective of others, denying the experiences of students by questioning the credibility or validity of their stories. If you guys tell me about your own experiences with micro insults, and I'm like, oh, that's not an insult, but it made you feel bad, that just invalidated you. Elementary school, this is a tricky line, because some kids just love to tell a good story, and you gotta be like, okay, wrap it up, move it on. Assigning class projects or creating classroom or school procedures that are heterosexist, sexist, racist, or promote the oppressions even inadvertently. Like, let's say you have all your students lining up alphabetically, and somehow alphabetically all your white students are in the front of the line, all your black students are in the back of the line. Take a minute to look at that and decide that maybe it's time that we mix things up. Or who's going to be passing out all the papers in class? Don't always make it the lady, like the girl students always passing out papers, things like that. You just gotta mix it up. And then please don't use sexist language. Don't have to worry about any of that. Okay, so we're gonna do like 5-10 minutes of this, and then we'll finish up next time.